Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, December 12th, 2022 regular school board meeting. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Grant?
Present.
Mr. Carpenter?
Present.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Here.
Mr. Fulham?
Present.
And Mr. Leeds is absent.
That is correct. Would everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1.3, any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Well, go ahead. Well, we have an addition of 6.7, which is under the superintendent's other business, and it is recommending the board approve the expedited local partnership agreement with the Ohio Facilities Construction
Okay.
Commission.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye.
yeah.
Motion carried.
Okay.
Item 1.4, approve the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. All right, moving on to section 2, discussion and comments from the board. As Mr. Leeds is not here, is anything from legislative?
Yeah, actually. So I talked to Mr. Leeds today. He and I both talked to Representative Hall about Senate Bill 178, which is the Senate trying to get rid of the state school board and redo Ohio Department of Education. That bill has moved from the Senate to the House. So Tom, Mr. Leeds and I, we both spoke to Representative Hall to let him know that it doesn't really seem like a good idea to rush something like this through the Senate, through the House.
Just to get an approval.
Yeah, and it does violate the Ohio Constitution, so that's kind of a big deal. So you probably don't want to rush stuff like that through
Well, school funding.
on a lame duck.
School
So,
funding is also unconstitutional, but they haven't changed that either.
so I mean,
Did I say that?
let's just go willy-nilly then. But yeah, that's all we got.
Okay.
Yeah, just to add on to that, we had discussion about that at our last superintendent's meeting. And although we've all had our frustrations with ODE, we just hope they slow down a little bit and think this through, because, you know, that would be some major changes, and often politicians tend to make changes without thinking through the consequences of, you know, how it's going to affect the day-to-day operations with the schools. And we are fortunate to have some of our local politicians that meet with us on a regular basis and are very open and willing to talk. So.
Okay, good. Anything else from legislative?
No, that's all.
All right, thank you. 2.2, Butler Tech, Mr. Guido.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I would like to share, you guys are aware I went to our national conference, came back, took about 10 teachers, 4 board members, and a couple administrators as well. We had 6 presentations, very well represented. I would want to let you guys know that the staff there just did a phenomenal job representing our district, but really all of our areas. So I was really proud of the job they did out there. So, you know, as usual, they just knocked it out of the park. So not a lot to share. Tomorrow is our board meeting, so that's why you don't have your newsletter. So I'll pick that up tomorrow, but I'll make sure you guys get a digital copy of all that as well. Obviously, our final board meeting of the year, we have a dinner for current board members as well as the former board members. And I know Mr. Leeds was supposed to come to that, so he said he's going to call me tomorrow and see if he's able to go. So that should be fun. Our executive director of the Ohio ACTE section unfortunately passed away. She had a very short illness and she passed away. So that group is going to be looking for a new executive director. So it'd be similar to the director of OASBO or BASA, one of those. So she's served in the role for over a decade, so very, very tough loss, but they're going to do what they need to do to go from there. One of the other things I want to share, and Tim, you'll find this interesting, is we have recently begun a partnership with GE Aviation to talk about some drone technology. They're working on hybrid drones, and one of the problems they're trying to solve is to give more time in the air on battery rather than have to switch over to the carbon fuel. So that'll be interesting. And if there's any assistance you could provide in that department.
Do they need coatings on these things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, that's above my
Probably
pay grade, so couldn't really answer that. That's it, really kind of a light time right now, just getting ready for the holiday break and go on from there.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
2.3, anything from finance?
We did not have a meeting since we had a meeting last month.
Okay. 2.4, student achievement.
Can I?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Sure, Brett.
Sorry. I did want to share on the House Bill or Senate Bill 178. So our stance as a Career Tech Center is we do support the language that is in there regarding career tech realignment. It does separate career tech districts out and have them be managed at least on their own. So it does give us kind of a voice at the table. We have usually been a second thought in some of that language. Regarding the hasty need to pass this bill, I mean, I support your guys' stance as well that, if it's a good bill, we could wait for other legislation to come through, but, so we don't have a problem with that, but obviously if you saw the language regarding career tech, it gives us a much better footing and a direct link to the governor's office as well. So I did want to kind of share that. It is a little bit different than the local school district, but that's where we as Butler Tech stand.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, student achievement.
The students, staff, and families had an awesome time this past weekend at the Santa Breakfast at the primary school, where about 500 people attended to enjoy crafts, letter writing to Santa, donuts, a photo booth, and fun. The main attraction was, of course, the Grinch, Buddy the Elf, and even Santa made an appearance. A total team effort by all involved and a great time for our primary students. It's been a busy few weeks for our elementary music department as students have had the opportunity to perform for their families and friends at their annual holiday choir concerts. Also, we're excited for our 6th grade band to have their first concert on December 15th. Congratulations to our 7th grade student of the month, Priya Das. Her teacher, Mrs. Baker, shares that Priya is a model student. She works hard by doing her best, and the work shows off in her grades. She also does an amazing job being a role model and leader for her peers. They look to her to see what she is doing and follow her example. She is kind and thoughtful to her teachers and peers. She treats everyone well and with respect. Congratulations to our 8th grade student of the month, Owen Daniels Day. His Spanish teacher, Miss Marshall, had this to say about Owen. Owen is a great student who really demonstrates the pillars of our PBIS system. He is an awesome example of someone who is better together, demonstrates relentless effort, and stands up and owns his work. I had him last year in 7th grade and again this year as an 8th grader and have seen him consistently demonstrate good character and strong work ethic. Owen is a joy to have in class and a great example to his peers and what it means to be a Hornet. The high school is busy with winter activities underway, including all of our sports and extracurricular activities. We're excited for students to perform at Mount Pleasant, as well as our choir will again be caroling on December 21st, starting at 6 p.m. Also, the guitar class is going to perform December 16th at 1 p.m., so make sure to attend any of the numerous events scheduled as we head into our winter break. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, appreciate it. All right, anyone from MEA? All right, moving on, we will move on to communications. Mr. Buzzkirk.
At this time, I'd like Mr. Silverman to come forward so he could introduce our recognition.
Thank you, and thank you again to the board for the second month in a row allowing us the opportunity to recognize one of our outstanding fall athletic teams. And with us tonight, we have our boys varsity soccer team who had an absolutely tremendous season, capturing the SWBL East Division Championship. They were 12-3-2 overall this year, 5-1-2 in the conference, but what I think is most impressive is that their 2 losses really was just a bad week. Came the second week of the season, right? Games 3 and 4, and they didn't lose again until or after August 25th. So when you talk about the course of a season that goes all the way through October, they went on a 2-month span of just having an absolutely successful season in terms of the win-loss record. You know, one of the best things about this team, and I'll let Coach Oster come up and talk about the guys and some of the accomplishments this year, but watching them progress as the season went on, they got better and better and better each day, each game, each week, and really all the way into the postseason tournament, which, like a handful of our teams, they jumped to Division I this year. They gave Beaver Creek, a perennial state powerhouse, all they could handle, losing 1-0 in the postseason tournament up there. So we're incredibly proud of them and what they did this year. But I want to also give them a little shout out because this group's collective GPA for the first quarter grading period was a 3.76. So they were winning on the field and getting it done in the classroom. So, and lastly, before I bring Coach Oster up, I do want to just compliment not only him and his staff. They do a tremendous job for our student athletes, but he won't say it, so I will. Coach Oster was our SWBL Coach of the Year, and that's a well-deserved honor as well. So, Coach Oster, would you like to step up and say a few words about the guys in the program?
Can we have the boys come over too? They're hiding behind the pool there. So.
Hey, guys.
Come on up.
Come on up, guys.
All right, over there.
Let's go.
Good to see you back at the podium, Coach.
I appreciate that. It's good to be here. Well, let me start with saying it is good to be here, and I appreciate that. I want to truly thank everybody for having me back. As you know, I didn't think I would ever be at this podium again, but life works in strange ways sometimes. And when I came back and I met with these guys, and one of the first things I did is, you may have seen pictures or you may have walked the hallways, and they all wore these crazy green shirts. And part of that was trying to get us back to being a family and get the culture that we wanted here. And what I can tell you is, without that culture, that dedication from these boys and that buy-in, nobody's wearing the gray shirts without the green shirts that we first put on this year. So not only on behalf of myself do I want to thank the board for recognizing and having us all back, but Mr. Silverman, who I've been around for a little while now in high school athletics. I think I started coaching in '04, which is, some of these kids weren't even born, I don't think. In fact, I know some of them weren't even born. And not only here at Monroe, but when I was at Hamilton, I've been around a lot of different athletic departments, athletic directors. And Mr. Silverman makes it a joy to coach high school soccer, and I really appreciate everything he did. He talked about our coaches. We've got a couple coaches here. You should be very proud, not only of the boys, but of the men that you have leading this program. And I get to be the face of it, which is always nice. But some of those gentlemen, and some of them aren't here, but they're the ones who really you should be proud of. Almost all of them are either Monroe residents or Monroe graduates, and they care about this community and this program, and they all deserve that. My wife, I just had to say, if I don't thank my wife, I get in trouble. I also have some parents behind me, and I'm going to talk just briefly about our program. Our parents are a huge part of what we do. Every time I reached out to parents for a team dinner, they were there. I didn't have to organize anything, and we had lasagnas and salads and all sorts of great things. When we talked about wanting to build the program up, we had parents and people wanting to donate new bags to the program. We had parents wanting to donate new warm-ups to the program because they saw the spark that had started inside these boys and what it could be. and they wanted to help kindle that flame. And so I want to thank all our parents for what they did. You know, we always talk about develop the person and the player will follow. And what we did with these boys is right off the bat, we said, you know, we're going to develop our culture, we're going to develop our pillars, you're going to care about each other. And there's an old word in nature that talks about a family of hornets. It's called a grist. And we put that as one of our pillars about being that family of hornets of who we wanted to be. Athletic Director Silverman stole a little bit of my thunder. I was going to tell you that when we talk about student athletes, I think one of the biggest things you should be proud of is that 3.76 grade point average. Way too many times you hear the bad things in the media about, be it high school or college athletes, not getting their grades, or North Carolina had their scandal where they're not really going to classes, ACT scores that don't really qualify. These boys, we've told them all along, look, if you need to miss practice because you need to get something done or you need to get grades, go get your grades. That's first and foremost. And they came through with a 3.76 that qualifies us for the Ohio Scholastic Soccer Coaches Association Academic Excellence Award as a team. I'm proud to say every team I've ever coached here at Monroe is qualified for that. And that's not me. I'm not their teacher. I'm not those boys in the classroom. But we stress it to them and they go and do the work, and so I'm really proud of them. Athletic Director also talked about our record and some things, and I hope you'll indulge me for just a moment to just give you a little idea of how great that really is and the work these boys put in. And when I read these stats to them at the banquet, some of them cringed about the comparison between last year and this year, but I have to do it because it's staggering. So last year in the regular season, they won 4 games. This year in the regular season, they won 11. That's 7 more games. That's half of a high school soccer season. You only get 16 games. Last year, they scored 28 goals, and they gave up 30. That's averaging, and I know soccer and we're in the World Cup right now, and so we hear about these 0-0 ties. Well, they scored 1.5 goals on average last year, but they gave up 1.6. This year, we scored 56 goals. That's 32 goals more than doubling what they scored, and we only gave up 8. And so that's a big difference from what they did before. How do those translate? Goals for a game, 3.35 goals for, 0.53 goals against on the season. 11 shutouts to only 5 in the year before. So when you talk about the work that they put in on that field, incredible. 7 of our boys were in the top 20 when you look at total points scored in the SWBL. 7, we had 7 of the 20 out of all those teams on our side of the SWBL. SWBL awards, I'm proud to say we won the Conference Player of the Year. We won the Newcomer of the Year. Unfortunately, our Conference Player of the Year isn't here, but Zach Oborn, our Newcomer of the Year, is. Zach is a freshman. I think he started every game but maybe senior night when I always start all of our seniors, so I had to have him take the bench for once, and I think he still hasn't forgiven me for it. But, you know, had an outstanding year and was recognized for doing that. We start 11 players on a soccer field, for anyone who doesn't know. We had 9 of our players make all SWBL, either first team, second team, or honorable mention out of our 11. We had 6, although we moved up to Division I, so when I went into the room this year, it was new faces when I had to go to the All-Miami Valley. I didn't see the Oakwoods and Alters and all the coaches who I've known for all these years. We still had 6 players earn All-District for Division I in Miami Valley awards this year, which is just absolutely outstanding. We won our first Division I soccer game in the school's history as far as the tournament goes, with a 1-0 win here at home against Tecumseh. And when the athletic director said we lost in that week of August, we did. And I'll be honest with you, we as coaches really got into the boys about who they wanted to be, and this was going to be a defining moment for them. You've already heard the outcome. When we challenged them, they responded, and they didn't lose again. I'm proud to say we've never lost on that field all year. We never lost on that field. Our 2 losses in the regular season were all away, and when Beaver Creek just got 1 by us, that was on their field as well. So these boys don't know what it's like to lose on that field. That's protecting the nest. I couldn't be more happy of them with our whole program and with what we are. I'd also like to thank the trainer, does an excellent job, and then the strength and conditioning coach is a huge asset to us now. So I want to thank you all for investing in the athletic program that way. These boys have just done something I think you should be very proud of. And they're good kids. They're good kids that this school should be proud of. I don't care if they play soccer. I really don't.
Yeah.
These are good kids that this school should be proud of. They are an asset to this school, this community, and for some of them, they're seniors. All they're going to do is make you proud as they continue to go through. So I very much thank you for having them here. If nothing else, so they can hear that although sometimes we hear about the bad of teenagers or this generation, I have so much hope and faith, and it's because of those boys standing there. And I thank you for all that you do for them as we move forward. So thanks for having us here tonight.
Thanks, Coach. Can I just say one thing? So Bellbrook is always circled on your schedule, right?
Yep. We beat them twice.
Twice. 5-1 between two, shut them out one game. Beating Bellbrook for this coach right here, I know how much that means to him, so appreciate that and everything you just said. I want to echo getting to watch these boys play, interact on the sideline, before and after games, seeing them at trainings and putting in the effort. They should be very proud, and I see a couple of them wearing some of my bands, which is awesome. I love that. We are a community, and you guys have developed a great culture in this program, and it's one that I really enjoy personally getting to come out and watch. So appreciate everything you guys have done.
And the AD just asked me if I would introduce who's here, so I can run through them real quick. Jack Gillum, one of our seniors. Jack. Alex Zepeda, another senior. Evan Santoro, he's one of our juniors. Ashton Kuss. Tyler Gannon. Our goalkeeper, Selleck Burgraff. Evan Agee. Eamon Juma. Micah Nation. Zach Oborn, who I've already embarrassed. Joe Tarrin. Caleb Mann. We have Peyton Hargraves. Ethan Volk. And Tyler. No, Travis. I'm sorry.
The other one.
I was thinking about something else. Travis, and so Travis and Jack and Selleck were also our captains this year. Proud of how their leadership was in leading us forward and taking care of the program. So, sorry, Travis. Let's go this way. Thank you. Appreciate it. Congratulations. 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 Congratulations, guys. Congratulations. He stuck back there for twice, didn't he?
Well, you guys, we'll probably have to go two lines here. You know, two rows for a picture. Just like we do on picture day.
Now I should probably be back here.
They still need adults, TK. They still need adults.
All right, look at the camera.
I had to get out of the way of the camera. Flex the light really bad.
Good? All right, guys, go.
Hey, if you guys don't have any studying, you're more than welcome to stay for the entire meeting.
I think they have a bunch of stuff they say.
Yes. Exam time, right?
Good students, you know what I mean?
Keep up to 376. Good job, guys.
Oh, wrong meeting, wrong meeting.
Yep, for being that kind of school. A lot of schools
Yeah.
don't care.
We definitely care.
The whole meeting left.
That's how it is.
We're not that
used to
important.
it.
All right, moving on to section 3.2, comments from the public. Seeing that there are none, we will move on to item 3.3. Mr. Buskirk.
At this time, I'm going to introduce Adam Markham. I think he's met all of you probably at one point.
Yep.
He is our PR communications director that we have for a couple days a week here in the district. And I asked him to present tonight to kind of share some of the things he's been working on in the short time we have him, and also some of the things that, you know, that he would like to do if we could keep him a little bit more, so.
Yeah, so thank you all for having me. It's good to see you all again.
Absolutely.
I'm glad the room thinned out a little bit. It's been a while since I've given a presentation, so. Appreciate you having me, though. I just wanted to share, as Robert said, a brief update with the board on what I've been working on so far this school year, what I have planned for the rest of the school year, and some potential ideas I have for the future, depending on what that role looks like. So as you're aware, I've been working in the role 2 days a week. I think that amounts to around 34 days, give or take. I am keeping track, I shouldn't say an approximate number. But I've been focusing a lot, as you probably noticed, on social media and the website, things like that. That's all surface level type things, but I wanted to kind of dive into a little bit more of the layers of things that I've been working on, what those projects might look like. So I was going to say, I think, yeah, here we go. Okay, so in terms of core responsibilities, when Robert and I kind of sat down and talked about this back in, I think it was July when we first met, there were kind of three big pillars that we wanted to focus on, and that was reestablishing branding standards for the district, strengthening the social media presence for the district, and improving district-level communication with families in the community in a couple different ways. So I wanted to share a few accomplishments that we've had thus far. But I wanted to start by saying building relationships has been kind of my number one focus. You know, I'm new to this district. I kind of have to earn my stripes a little bit. I've made myself present and available as much as possible in the school buildings. I want to make sure that people see me and know that they can call me and say, hey, there's something great going on in this classroom. We think you should come. I always follow up on that, even if that kind of bends my 2 days just a little bit, because again, I want to build those relationships. But I've been attending weekly cabinet meetings, and one of the big first steps that we made in establishing some consistency across our social media assets was creating a social media policy, which we didn't really have in place in the past. And then what that did is it clarifies the rules of usage. It promotes more positive interactions. Not that we've had any negative here, but obviously even just in Butler County, the school community, we've seen some negative things happen lately. We wanted to safeguard ourselves, but also safeguard our staff and students in case there were any attacks, threats, things like that made. In that same thread, we also disabled social media messaging to kind of limit liability and also take that off of staff's plate. I think at the principal and counselor level, we had people who were monitoring constantly for people saying, what time does school start? Just basic questions like that, you know, it's not necessarily the best chain of the best order in which to ask these questions when there's other resources like calling or visiting the website. We've also created a directory of official district assets. We had a lot of other kind of noise out in the space, especially on Twitter. I've knocked down about 9 or 10 of those accounts so far. I've got about 20 or so left. Those are just kind of duplicate accounts that have been created over the years. Maybe it's, I think the soccer team might have had a couple. There was one from a levy back in the day. So we're trying to kind of reduce that noise so that when people go to search for us and find that authority and that trustworthy, reliable information, they can find it. That's something that I actually struggled with when I first came, determining which accounts were legitimate, which ones weren't. Kind of moving on along the social media train here, we've seen I kind of jumped ahead. Sorry. We've seen a significant increase in engagement with staff, parents, and the community through positive messaging and media. I've been using the Facebook, Twitter, I just said the Facebook, didn't I? Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, which I think you all have probably seen some of. I helped facilitate the return of the Hornet Pride video series. I've been shooting those with Robert pretty regularly, highlighting a lot of student achievement, which has been a lot of fun. We also got What's the Buzz back off the ground. I think it's been a little while. That's a quarterly newsletter that we mailed out to all the families and residents of Monroe, and we also emailed that out to parents. Lots of clicks on that, lots of traffic. It's been really good to see. Same with Hornet Pride. I've been tracking those views on YouTube and whatnot. Let's see here. I also began kind of measuring web analytics and traffic patterns on the website. As you probably know, we're obviously embarking on the process now of coming up with a new website for the district. So we've been trying to kind of make things more efficient there, but also see what can be improved. And then I've also, as of the last couple weeks, began participating in the Facilities Core Committee planning discussions, which have been really great so far. I'm looking forward to being a part of that, hopefully into the future here. So, sorry, getting ahead of myself now, we can go. Just wanted to share this. I think you guys have seen a very similar format that was shared back in October, but I just was here now and I wanted to kind of touch on it again. This is just from the first 4 months of school compared to last year, the first four months. You see kind of a considerable increase in the amount of people that we've been reaching on Facebook, the way that they're engaging with us on Facebook. That's likes, that's shares, comments, things along those lines. And I felt kind of silly putting the percentages there. I wasn't trying to make those numbers look big, but it was just the format that I'd used previously.
We expect that each quarter.
Yeah, I'm setting myself up for failure, I think, but we'll let it go anyway. And then on the next page is just some more Facebook statistics. Our new followers, on average, minutes of video viewed. I just wanted to point that out. I've been kind of utilizing videos and Medium a lot more. It tracks much better. It gets much better engagement, obviously, regardless of the medium. So I've been really kind of leaning on that a lot more. Had a lot of fun with that too. I think the principals, suffered the brunt of that. They're real good sports for doing the Full House parody video. That was just for fun. And then on Twitter, some of the same statistics. The people we're reaching has drastically increased, the impressions. We've been interacting a lot more with teams and with other schools. And then profile visits, a lot more of those. People are interested to see what's going on in Monroe. So, and then kind of wrapping up for the 22-23 school year. I skipped some most popular posts here. Sorry, Logan, making you work for it. The next page here, and again, you guys have seen this format. This hasn't changed much. Some of those posts are going to be the most popular ones for a little while, but the principal parody video did make it up pretty high there. So that was thanks to some stellar acting. So same thing with Twitter. A couple of our most popular posts. Some of them surprise me. You have something that you think is going to be really popular, and then sometimes the first day photo contest was amazing. Huge turnout there. And then I'd like to touch on some of the other things I have planned for the rest of the school year. We're hoping to wrap up the comprehensive district branding guide here soon. We already have a really great start. Thank you, AJ, for that work. We're going to be launching the new Monroe Local Schools website. I think we don't have a definitive date just yet, but over the summer, I think, is the soft target. Planning to enhance the district's digital profile, what you see when you search on Google, that kind of thing, and also see how we can work SEO into the new website a little bit. And then also we're continuing to work on the district communications calendar, trying to wrap in all of the different programs and administrators to kind of streamline the way that we communicate and make sure that we do it in a timely manner as the year progresses. And if you guys aren't tired of me yet, future potential, I wanted to kind of just highlight some things that I could see that I would like to recommend for the district in the future, regardless of what that might look like. I wanted to establish crisis communications best practices, work alongside our partner agencies to create a communications timeline, create a comprehensive district communications plan. So we would audit building and district level communication methods to eliminate any redundancies, but we would also make sure that as parents progress through the district, if their kids start obviously in primary school, by the time they get to the high school, they've probably downloaded about 14 different apps, a few different other programs maybe, created logins for all of these different profiles, trying to kind of look at that picture from a high level and then say, how can we simplify and kind of consolidate some of those services? Wanted to recognize and empower staff and students to tell their stories. So it's not always just coming from the district. I think that that's important to have that voice. And then we would also pivot from kind of a reactive strategy, which is obviously me being new to the district and kind of learning the ropes live, to being a little bit more proactive about how we approach communications. I'd also want to focus on, Tom's not here, he'd love to hear this, I think, but want to spend a lot more time searching for storytelling opportunities with the media to get Monroe out.
I'll echo Tom's sentiment on that. Good
Yeah,
thumbs up.
yeah, it's tricky in this climate, but I think with a little bit more time, it'd be fun to kind of really drill into some of those stories and find them throughout the district. It's just a little bit hard to search for them on my limited resources at the moment. So, and then in terms of facilities planning, I also wanted to highlight that it's important obviously to communicate where we are before, during, and after that entire process, and I think playing a more active role in that is critical to make sure that everybody in the community feels informed of what's going on. And I think I have, let's see here. Wanted to find new ways to support district initiatives. So using my skill set and coordinated marketing efforts to support maybe employment, recruitment, staff retention, recognition, those types of things, and just keeping the community involved. There's different ways that I can work alongside some of the other programs and departments to support what they're doing. And I really want to expand our social media presence a little bit. I think we have a heavy presence on Facebook. That's where a lot of our parents are. Twitter, not so much. It's a lot of teams and school interactions. Teachers are there. But our students are kind of lost in the mix. And I really want to kind of loop them in through Instagram or another similar platform. I don't want to say TikTok. That's a slippery slope, and everything's, it's popular for now, but we'll see. But Instagram's tried and true. And I think it'd be really cool to do some student takeovers, leverage them as storytellers too. I also have goals too. I'd love to create a professional district video that we can use on the landing page of the website right as you splash down. There's other ways we can use that too. And then I would also recommend somebody in the webmaster role that's committed to making sure that website stays updated throughout the years. Because I think the place we're at right now, we have a lot of pages that are just kind of floating in the ether. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention business partnership efforts. Someone to serve as a liaison, or, I'm not familiar if a program has existed in the past in that regard, but I'd love to support that and possibly expand that to help benefit our students and staff. And other than that, that is all that I have prepared. But let me know if you guys have any questions or clarifying thoughts.
Any questions?
No questions. You've done a really great job. I know I can tell a big difference in our social media just throughout the year, and like I said, you've done a wonderful job, and every community member I've spoken to, they echo the same sentiment. They really enjoyed the stories and just being able to get a little bit more of a peek inside of the school building. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So keep up the great work. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll echo that as well. I'm hearing a lot of positive things because a lot of the time the stories just weren't out there or wasn't getting out there to where now they're a little bit more in your face and people are enjoying them. So
Yeah, it's been fun to me to learn them as I go as well, because I'm,
Yeah.
like I said, new to the district, and so, it's fun to kind of learn all the things that are already happening and just find ways to amplify those stories in the community.
yeah, so I definitely would see definitely a positive in the short time that you're doing it for the district. The rewards are paying off. So
Thank you.
So thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I definitely kind of ditto everything that Tim and Dave has said. You're doing a great job, and I know the community really enjoys the videos that you're posting. I hear a lot of good things about that and getting the words out, so thank you.
Thank you.
I think before we had Adam on board, I shared, we have so many great staff members doing just amazing things for our kids, and we have amazing students that do great things every day, and we need to get those, continue to work harder to get those stories out. Because, this is a great place. We talk about it all the time, what a great school district is and what amazing kids we have. We need to continue to share that story, and Adam has been a big part of that this year.
So this being my profession, this is an area that I'm very close to, and something that honestly, truth be told, I sat down with the previous superintendent and expressed an interest in a position for myself because I saw such a need in our district for having a cohesive brand sometimes that stuff goes overlooked. But even going back to like what Coach Oster was saying about building a culture around a green T-shirt, something very
Yeah.
simple like that, a message, a hashtag. There's a lot of different ways to convey that, but I joked about these bands. I mean, I've been passing these bands out to these kids for a couple of years now, and I see graduates still wearing them because it means something to them, and it might mean something different to one individual versus another. And why this stuff is so important and why there was such a need is this school district, and why I wanted to be on this board in the first place, is a terrific place. This school that we're sitting in currently, in our primary school, is the community. And this is where everybody rallies around our people, our kids. We have a lot of teachers that live in the district. It's a very unique place. And I think Adam has the ROI on, I don't remember what we offered to pay him for those 2 days off the top of my head, but the ROI, Adam, I mean, has
Yes.
been, from my seat, astounding.
Yeah.
I mean, way beyond what we should expect in 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
And getting to meet and speak with Adam on a few occasions, I can tell he cares, which is so important. And I want to make sure that you understand, I mean, we're saying good job, but it goes far beyond that. I mean, being able to get the principals out of their chair, I mean, they're very busy to do something fun like that, because we do have a lot of great personalities. We do have a lot of great stories. We did lack that branding, and I can see that you're pulling that in, and that's very important. I can't wait for us to get this new website launched. So I just want to be very, very, very openly, and when I state, you have done with 2 days much, much more than what most people would do with that time. So I personally appreciate that. I think I speak for the board in that as well. I do have a couple quick questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So on your future and potential items that you mentioned, I agree with all of them. Are those things that because you kind of mentioned website maintenance, a business partnership liaison, is that something that you foresee an expanded role for yourself, or is that something that you think that's beyond what you focus on, or is it more people? What with your experience so far, what do you see the need as far as personnel to fulfill those goals?
I think, it's typically, I think the vast majority of school districts throughout the nation are kind of one-person, one-stop PR shops. I can definitely see the necessity for somebody in that role full-time, and I think that they could absorb over time all of these responsibilities, because I did want to have that caveat that these aren't all obviously year one kind of goals.
Sure.
But no, I definitely see that kind of living within that capacity, and it's something that I do have a little bit of experience with and would be comfortable with.
Yeah, because I think as we know we're growing, we've got a lot of lofty goals and initiatives ahead of us as a community. New schools, the city's wanting to expand, we're going to have more students. And having this type of thing organized and in a way that makes it easier for our teachers. Our teachers were doing so much of this, and that is not their job. This is not their job. And you see our teachers stepping up and doing things and not having that person prior to Adam, it makes it very difficult and inefficient. And so having somebody that everybody can rally around and have a plan takes some of that burden off of our teachers. I'm a big proponent of our teachers teaching, and this role has been very important. So I just want to make sure I'm on public record saying that I think that this is a very, very needed role in the district, and I'm thankful that Robert and the staff has invested even the limited amount of time that you have right now in you and in our district in this way, because we have a long way to go, but we're making good strides, so thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And I'll get off my high horse, because I'm very passionate about this area of our,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
of our district.
And one last thing, when you get with the media, that will be another feather. I've been trying for the last 2 years to get our students and our teachers.
Right.
We used to have a member of the media come to our meetings when I first got on the board. That was going to be 9 years ago. And I don't think we've seen one in 7.
Only interested when things are down.
Yeah, so if we can get that interaction back again and get our kids in the paper, because there's still people out there that don't have the social media, that still read the paper, so if we can get our kids recognized in that avenue as well, that'd be even better. So
Absolutely.
you're doing a fantastic job.
And Dave loves to do video cameos.
No, I do not.
So
Add to my list.
make sure to add him to the next treatment so we can get him.
He can do like voiceovers or
I don't
something.
get a lot of volunteers, so I appreciate that.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very
Thank
much.
you.
All right. Moving on to 3.4, superintendent report and update.
All right, thank you, Mr. Grant. I've just got a brief update here. Since our last board meeting was just a couple weeks ago. End of first semester is right around the corner. I can't believe we've got next week, short week, and then that is it. So next week, 3 days, 7 through 12, it is finals week, and then we'll be off for winter break. So that is exciting. Kids and teachers are working hard. I always tease that when I was the principal at the primary building, you would walk in that last week of school and the whole building smelled like sugar. And so it is a challenge to get through that last week of school, but it is also, there's lots of fun activities for those kids, and they're very excited. So we did have a facilities planning commission meeting. Let's see, we've renamed it. It's the FCC, the Facilities Core Commission, and it's a very small group, and it was basically planning to get a larger group, which will be on January 30th, 6 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. We are currently working on inviting a list of, we're hoping to invite at least 100 people. We want as many community members from all aspects, all areas of the community in attendance, because if we have the same people there that have the same views, we're not going to get a true cross-section of the community. And as we make decisions moving forward, we really want that. So I know Mr. Grant had reached out to me about possibly the board coming to those meetings, and you guys are all allowed to attend those meetings. You're not allowed to run the meetings or talk about school board business, obviously, at those, but you, as a community meeting, you are absolutely allowed to come. So I will send out reminders prior to that meeting. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about was, believe it or not, we are already, the high school is planning, counselors and administrators are already planning for scheduling for the 23-24 school year, which seems unbelievable. But this is the time where they start looking at the course booklet. You'll see later on here, it's on the agenda. It's not for approval yet, but just to look at. The one thing that I did want to share, and maybe it was just me that had to get over it, but we are leaning towards, not leaning towards, we are going to move away from AP courses and increase the number of College Credit Plus courses. Currently, we have 3 AP courses, Calculus, Government, and U.S. History. And the sections are pretty small. Calculus, we wouldn't have been able to offer it next year. We offered it this year, and I think we have 11 students in it now, and we just can't sustain those small classes. AP, if you were to walk into an AP class, the structure of it, the way it goes, the testing at the end, it's not any different than when we were all in high school. AP has not changed their format in years, and since College Credit Plus came out, it has grown and grown and grown. And then when COVID hit and they offered a lot of the courses online, it has exploded. So that has hurt not just, this is not a Monroe issue, this is everywhere. Numbers for the AP courses have declined drastically. Why? If you take an AP course, you are taking a year-long course where at the end you have to take an exam that is graded and you hope to get a score that will get you college credit if that college accepts that. Where College Credit Plus is you take those courses, sometimes they're semester courses, sometimes they're sprint courses that are even shorter, but they are college level courses taught by college professors. We are going to be adding 1, 2, 3, 4 classes next year, maybe, depending on, as people sign up. But college credit courses taught by Monroe staff members that are qualified to do that, 4 additional than the one, we already have a couple. The college credit classes they automatic, if you pass that class, you get college credit that has to be accepted by any college or university in the state of Ohio. So it is guaranteed credit. It's a better opportunity for our kids with that. As a parent, why wouldn't you move towards College Credit Plus? As we talked through it, my initial reaction was, I don't want to get rid of AP. You know, for some of our top-level kids, they really want that. But as we talked through it, we're trying to do AP, we're trying to do CCP, we're trying to have we're doing a bunch of things okay. And so I actually talked to a number of other superintendents that are similar size to us, and they are moving this direction as well. A couple of them have already eliminated AP. Why not? Let's be really good at CCP.
Yes.
Let's concentrate on that. Let's make more opportunities for our kids. Let's encourage our teachers to get CCP certified here in the building so our kids are here on campus taking it. Even there's one course, we have a partnership with Cincinnati State right now that for government for next year until our teacher is certified for that. It's called a proctor, where it is an online course taught by a college level professor, but they will have a scheduled period here in the building where that teacher will go through all the coursework with them and work with them on an individual or small group or whole group basis to get through all the material. So that is the direction we're heading there, and we're going to continue to work on getting that word out to our families. If there's for some reason somebody is diehard, I want my kid to take that AP exam, you still can take the AP exam. Like if you're taking honors calculus next year, even though it's not an AP course, if you want to take the AP calculus exam, you're still able to do that. So
There's people that would choose to do that?
I don't know, but if they wanted to, that option is still available.
Okay.
I just wanted to share that as you look through the high school course book, that's the direction we're going. And our goal is to continue to grow the CCP courses offered here. Now, I've been talking with a lot of the high school kids about, why are you doing CCP versus AP? And the number one answer is that I can do it while I'm sitting in my bed at home. Because, a lot of the online courses, it's flexibility. That is important for those kids to get experience of an online course, because if they go on to school, they're going to have an online course at some point. Some of them will have more than one, depending on what their major is. So I think they do need that experience. But I also want kids here on campus more. A lot of the there's some seniors that don't enter the building all day. They're full-time CCP, and that's great because they're getting those great opportunities. But they're still kids, and I want them here in the building. That I want them to be able to experience high school. So that's kind of where we're working for next year and in the future. So I wanted to share that. So
Robert, I'd like to say I'm really impressed, and I like the idea of offering CCP here at Monroe for the students, so that they can get college credit while they're still in high school and be in the building. I think that's a great path that we should be going down.
How long does it take for our teachers to get certified typically? I know that there's probably, depending on the courses.
It really depends. Like the three of the four I think that we're offering next year, maybe just two of them, they just sent their transcripts into the university, and they're like, you're qualified to teach this and this and this. So it depends on the subject area. It depends on what the teacher currently has. It could be, oh, you're already certified, or you need these 3 courses, or you need a whole nother master's. It'll depend. It's really dependent on the teacher. It really goes towards what is, you have to have a master's degree, and many teachers go and get a master's degree in like a general, like educational leadership or curriculum design or something like that, where if you're a math teacher and you get your master's in mathematics, you're going to be automatically qualified too. Then there's some, strange rules. We had a calculus teacher last year that taught calculus previously at Miami University, but Miami would not let him teach CCP calculus. So again, sometimes there's some strange nuances, but
But it was already a professor at
he had taught for, I think, 6 or 7 years at Miami calculus. So.
And I just had one other question, because
Yeah.
I'm kind of so if a teacher is moving into a CCP course role, does that pull them out of the non-CCP courses, and do we have to fill positions for those students who are not taking CCP, or how does that balance work with,
We still
is
have.
it in addition to, is it a hybrid where it's not really?
It's in replacement of. So we currently have like AP Government and AP US History.
Okay.
And so next year, we're going to have CCP Government and CCP US History.
Okay.
So that is we're wondering if, there are some kids that are currently taking US History off campus. So now that we're offering it here, is that going to bring some more back that we might have to add a second? We'll see.
Okay.
My guess is next year, probably not, but as it catches on, maybe we will have some additional sections. And again, we wanted to offer quantitative reasoning and statistics for math credits. If we have 6 kids sign up for it, we're not going to offer that, but, we'll get them. They can still take it, but it would be an online course through Cincinnati State.
So our students have a guarantee, if they wanted to take that CCP math course, they have a guarantee through an online environment, even if we don't have how many students do we need per class minimum to warrant that?
It's a decision that we
Okay.
sit down and look at,
Okay,
so.
cool. I'm
Like
in
this year, we
agreement with
had, I think, 13 kids originally sign up for calculus, which normally is not a class size that we're going to offer a class like that, but they were trying to grow the program. And I said, I'll give you a year at that size, but you need to continue to try to grow that program. And then now we're, obviously, we're going a different direction, but I think this will help grow numbers as well, so.
Cool.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to section 4, Treasurer's Business. Mrs. Cahall, you're up.
Okay. Excuse me. I'm asking the board to approve the minutes from November 21st, 2022.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions about the minutes? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye, motion carried. Item 4.2.
Okay, next I'm asking the board to approve the financial report for November 30th, 2022.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. All right.
Okay, just a moment. Okay. Well, I'd like to report as of November 30th, our total cash balance in the general fund is $35,954,304. And the forecast shows we expect to end the year with a surplus of $1,766,000. And at this time, that is still our expectation. In the comparison of revenue between this year and last year, our receipts through the state foundation are $1.1 million more. And this is because our increased funding from the state did not kick in last year until January. And so as we move through the year, this difference will go down, especially after January. So now it looks pretty skewed, but we should get $1 million more than last year, but it won't all be right now. So it's kind of, you'll see it as we progress. Other revenue is $447,000 more this year over last. We received $338,000 more from the city of Monroe through our TIF payment, which is property taxes. And we also have received $270,000 more in interest revenue. So as you know, rates are going up, and we're seeing quite a big difference. So expenses are up as well. Our medical expenses are $100,000 more this time over last year because of hiring and premiums, and although we really won't see the premium increase until January, because that's when our rates change for health care. And also supplies are up because we did pay $400,000 for textbooks, and we had started that to purchase last year, but we paid it for it this year because of, it takes a while it's a process, textbooks, and the invoicing comes at the very end. And so that's why you see that. And we are but we've budgeted for future years textbook adoptions and, to keep up with with education, so. And then I did want to tell you that we have $3.4 million in our permanent improvement fund, which we'll use for building and the ELP program, so. Okay, that's all I have for you now.
Okay. Any questions? All right, Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Oh, excuse me, can I start that over?
I don't know.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. And item 4.3,
Next, I'm asking the board to approve the bond fund report.
may I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. All right,
I just want to report that all the money is where it should be.
thank you very much.
Okay. So,
And, yes, I was gonna ask a question here. So just real quick, we
Okay.
paid 1.6 in bond principal? Is that
Correct.
correct? And
Yes.
Okay,
and $315,162. We usually pay in December and in June or July,
Okay.
twice a year.
all right, very good. All right, Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. All right, thank you, Mrs. Cahill.
Thank you.
All right, superintendent's personnel business, section 5.1.
It is recommended to the board approve the following resignations.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any questions?
I do want to just make a couple quick comments. Two of them are technically their resignations, but they're just moving into different positions. I shared that with you. And then we have one very special one there who actually is here tonight. I guess she's afraid we're not going to approve it or not, but Miss Charlotte Austin will be retiring, and so she is on the agenda. She will be a big loss for that primary building and the district, so.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much for your service to the district, and happy retirement.
Thank you. It's been a difficult decision. It's been an honor and a privilege to work here.
Yes.
We appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
You still have to finish the year.
All right, Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. And item 5.2.
It's recommended the board hire the following employees.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any questions? All right, Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Item 5.3.
It's recommended the board approve the following substitutes.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any questions on the substitute? All right, Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Item 5.4.
It's recommended the board approve the following supplemental contracts.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions regarding the supplementals?
I just want to say thank you. There's several volunteers on this list, including indoor track. And my computer's on the fritz, but I know there's several of them on there, and I just want to thank, obviously, all of our volunteers specifically for donating their time to our kids and our various activities.
Yep, I would agree. All right. Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Item 5.5.
It's recommended the board approve the step adjustment for the following employee, the pupil personnel administrative assistant, and that will be effective January 1st.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions? Okay, Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye, motion carried. Item 5.6.
It's recommended the board approve the salary increase for that employee starting January 1st. I do want to compliment Ms. Nancy Miller. She's finished, correct?
Yes.
Yes, she has finished her degree, and she will have her treasurer's license. So congratulations. to her.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Yeah, fantastic.
She has her treasurer's license.
Oh, she has it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I knew she finished her school, but she's.
Good, great. All right. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions? All right, Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Hold on, I'm flipping pages. Aye, motion carried. All right, moving on to Section 6, Superintendent's Other Business.
Section 6.1, it is the high school course description book. At this point, there's no action, but it is attached, and at the January agenda, we will have you approve that.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead.
Yep, go
Sorry. For 6.2, it's recommended to approve the following Neola recommendation policy revisions.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any questions?
I have a question. Mr. Buskirk, I had emailed in the facility security, it states the superintendent is authorized to install metal detectors and video surveillance. I had mentioned I was a little bit uncomfortable with it, authorized to install metal detectors.
Yeah.
Would you like to explain
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. Thank you for that question. As we went through the Neola policy revisions with our rep, when this came up, since we already currently have video monitoring, a lot of the other safety equipment in there, and then it talks about metal detectors. I know everybody thinks of you're walking through the airport, metal detectors. We actually currently have 2 handheld, just metal wand detectors that are used on, they've been with the district for a number of years prior to even my arrival, and they're only used sparingly for, if there's, maybe a suspected threat or something like that. But they are here in the building, and they shared, since we do have those, that particular language should be in there. As far as like the large metal detector, walk-through metal detectors, I believe a number of years ago, I think it was actually after the incident in Madison, there was a discussion with the Monroe Police Department. At that time, they had advised not to go that direction. When you asked that question, I actually, revisited that with our SRO, and their recommendation is not to go that direction. And just to let you know, I would never go that direction without having, obviously, community input and input from the board, so. But because we have those handheld, that's what that language is for, so,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
I heard Tom's still at home. He had so much fun reading this. He would do it again.
Yes, exactly. All right,
20 documents,
He just loves it.
yes. Soaking
it
it all
only
in.
took me 3 hours.
All right, Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye, motion carried. And item 6.3.
It is recommended to approve entering into the settlement agreement with Shannon Lee on behalf of her minor child in the case of SE 40452022, under the terms agreed to and negotiated between the parties, and further authorize the superintendent to sign any documents to effectuate the same.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions? Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
Mrs. Fulham, Mr. Fulham, I'm sorry. Mr.
Aye.
Fulham, okay. Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye, motion carried. Item 6.4.
It's recommended the board approve the indoor track and field season that begins tomorrow.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Not a big indoor track.
All right, any questions? Okay, Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Item 6.5.
It is recommended the board approve the 23-24 school calendar as presented.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions regarding the calendar?
Got everything lined up this year. I think we're good.
Oh, with New Miami.
We're all good.
Yeah.
All right. Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Item 6.6.
That is just the calendar of upcoming events.
All right. And item 6.7.
It is recommended the board approve the expedited local partnership agreement with Ohio Facilities Construction Commission.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We got everyone on that one.
Did you get in on that?
Yeah.
I did.
Oh,
We're
you've been
like,
so quiet.
man, it was like perfect harmony, too.
It was. It was.
Yeah, I think we're onto something here.
We're like the Bee Gees.
Is that what's going on?
All right, so we're going to, thank you, Mr. Fulham, and seconded by Mrs. Hagedorn.
Okay.
Like Wilson Phillips or something.
Second by Mrs. Hagedorn. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any questions regarding the ELP program?
I do want to say, we passed this resolution last year, but the state, and we actually were in a meeting about a month ago, and Jesse asked this specific question, do we need to do another resolution, or are we okay? And they said, no, you're fine. And then Thursday night at, 5:45, we get this, and says it has to be approved by December 14th. So luckily, we did have a board meeting, so we are approving it. It's basically the exact same document we did last year with the adjusted rates. And so we can move into that, lock that rate in with the OFCC commission. So.
Okay. All right, very good. Any questions? All right, Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. All right, thank you, Mr. Buzzkirk. Moving on to Section 7, elect President Pro Tem for the January 9th, 2023 organizational meeting. It is recommended that the board elect a President Pro Tem. So, I know Mr. Leeds has done that for the previous few years. I know he's not here, so we're definitely going to be recommending him for this. No, he would be doing it no matter what. But my recommendation would be to recommend Mr. Leeds to be the elect President Pro Tem.
Okay.
I second that.
Second that? Okay. So, first we need to make a motion.
So
So,
moved.
Mr. Carpenter?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Now we can discuss.
Yeah, now we can discuss. So it'd be my recommendation is everyone, if anyone has anything differently about Mr.
I have absolutely no issues with Mr. Leeds doing that. I just wonder, is he going to say, you did it because I wasn't here?
No, no. He has good experience of being the President Pro Tem.
Okay.
Andy wasn't here.
And he wasn't
and he
here.
wasn't here.
Yes, he got the double whammy tonight. All right, so it is our recommendation that Mr. Leeds be the President Pro Tem for the
Okay.
organizational meeting. All right?
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Before we adjourn, we'll have comments from the board. And since Mr. Leeds isn't here, we'll start with you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
All right. So I want to say good luck to the students next week who are going to be, taking their exams. That's what we're here for, is to be students and get an education. I want to have have a safe holiday to the students, parents, teachers, staff, and administrators, and to everybody on the board as well. I want to thank Mr. Oster, Coach Oster, for a great job with the soccer program. I did not realize what a great program we had with the statistics. I've been to games and seen them play. As a spectator, I just had no idea. I knew they had won more games. I didn't know they had over doubled their games from last season to this season. So just a great job for, Coach Oster and his staff there. I'd like to thank Adam. You're doing a fabulous job. I know we had said that before. I just look forward to seeing all the improvements and things that you're going to do in the future. And I'd like to thank everybody on the board. It's been a great first year being a member of the board, and the transition, I think, has gone smoothly. It's been a huge learning process, and I'm continuously learning. That's part of how you grow in life, but it's just been great to work with everybody here on the board this past year, so thank you.
Thank you. All right.
That's all I have for today.
Mr. Fulham,
No, we're going to skip him this time.
we're going straight to you. You got anything else? Mr. Fulham.
Sure. It's time for my high fives from around the hive. All right. High five to our junior high school choirs who performed wonderfully at their winter concert last week, which featured some terrific solos, kazoo playing, and some dance moves. High five to our treasurer, Holly Cahall, and her staff, who were recently presented with the Auditor of the State Award from the Ohio Auditor's Office following a clean financial audit for the district. High five to several high school students who I have witnessed assisting with cleanup following varsity basketball games, including putting away chairs and cleaning up garbage from the stands. It's always awesome to see a team effort in keeping our facilities well kept. High five to our pep band who have performed at several basketball games already this season. It's always a fun atmosphere for our students and families, bringing energy to the games and even a little competitive edge over the visiting schools. And high five to our varsity football players who were named all-state selections. Tyson Rupp, who was honorable mention, Wyatt McPherson, second team, and Elijah Jackson, first team. And I would like to also echo Ms. Hagedorn, being this our first time around the sun together and working as a board from the handoff between Leslie and Brett. It's been a tremendous opportunity to learn more about the district, and all I've uncovered is that we have a better district than I even thought. Not just working with this group up here and Mr. Leeds, but just our administration. Everybody's done such a fantastic job in welcoming us and allowing us to learn and ask silly questions at times, because it's important that we have strong leadership at this table so that we can empower the folks that are driving our district. And I said it when I was on the campaign trail, and now we have the best district in Butler County. I stand behind that, and I think that we have even more heights to reach. So I definitely want to thank you guys and look forward to another few years sitting at this table.
Very good. Mr. Carpenter.
Yeah. Not much. I just want to wish everybody a wonderful holiday. I know the teachers they get into this and they're like, oh my gosh, we're like this close. But yeah, you are this close. We can make it. I know Missy's looking forward to having some time off, but hopefully I get my basement done this time. So that's only like a 4-year thing. Don't talk to Missy about that one. She's a little sensitive about that. But yeah, just everybody enjoy your time off. Be safe. Hopefully this time off will help the students come back healthy. I know everybody's kind of dealing with flu and strep and some other weird thing that Greta and I had. That was great. But hopefully that gets out of here. Everybody can come back from break and be ready to tackle the second half of the school year. But enjoy your time off.
All right. I, number one, can't believe that it's already Christmas in less than 2 weeks. This year has flown. But no, teachers, administrators, enjoy your holiday break, well-deserved. And hopefully the parents and the students enjoy their holiday break as well. I'm excited to just say that in about 4, maybe 5 years, I will have a kindergartner entering Monroe. So baby, our granddaughter was born a week ago. So, and they live in Monroe, so we'll have another future Hornet here soon. So other than that, I want to wish everyone a happy holiday and be safe and enjoy your time with family. So other than that, we'll move on to Section 8. We will adjourn to executive session. It is recommended the board adjourn to executive session to consider the employment or compensation of a public employee, revised code 121.22 G4, and no action will be taken. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hagedorn. All right. Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you very much for
Thank you for
attending,
being here.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, did anyone's computer crap out?
Word docs.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was the network or the Word docs, but it was not loading.
Yeah, it just, yeah, when she got to the treasurer's report, I couldn't pull anything up.
Yeah, you couldn't load it.
I'm gonna let Tony